At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked #1 in innovation for 10 consecutive years and #2 among public universities for employability. ASU isn't just ahead of the curve. It's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
And now it's time for Friday Nights with Nautica de la Cruz.
And Mo, thank God it is Friday. Or if I say Friday.
Friday.
Well, for Discover SoCal, I went to the Last Bookstore in downtown Los Angeles, which is more than just a place to buy books. It is an experience, Mo. Housed in a grand century-old bank building, this cherished bookstore is a maze of towering bookshelves, inviting reading corners, and hidden gems waiting to be uncovered. From the moment you step inside, you're greeted by this really strong scent of old paper and the soft hum of quiet conversations, creating an atmosphere that feels both nostalgic and magical. Whether you're a book collector, a casual reader, or simply an explorer of unique spaces, the Last Bookstore offers something special for everyone, and I really mean that. One of the most iconic features is the whimsical book tunnel, a curved archway made entirely of stacked books. I don't even know how they put that together, but it is amazing, inviting visitors to walk through a portal of literary wonder. Beyond that, the store is filled with an eclectic mix of new and used books, graphic novels, and rare first editions. They carefully curated a section, making browsing just absolutely a joy, with everything from classic literature to contemporary bestsellers and obscure titles you've never even knew you needed. There's also a dedicated vinyl section featuring records from every genre, and there is a specialist on hand if you have any questions, if you're looking for anything particular. Now, when you venture upstairs, that's where the magic happens. You'll discover an entirely new layer to this book wonderland. The second floor is home to the fascinating art gallery, independent shops, and even a small little cafe where visitors can relax with a coffee while flipping through their latest finds. The walls are adorned with striking artwork from local artists, adding to the store's creative energy. And beyond the art, there are unique boutique shops selling handcrafted gifts, rare books, and vintage curiosities. The upper level also houses the famous quote-unquote vault of books, a repurposed bank vault, a vault filled with special and classic editions, creating an almost mystical atmosphere. Now, whether you're a book lover, an art lover, or just simply someone seeking an unforgettable experience, the Last Bookstore is a must-visit destination in the heart of downtown Los Angeles. Now, here's a fun fact. The building that now houses the Last Bookstore originally opened in 1914 as the Citizens National Bank. You don't remember because you were not born yet, and neither was I. The Last Bookstore began in 2005 in a downtown Los Angeles loft before moving to its current location in the historic bank building, which was in 2011. I did pick up a book, Sinatra, who I absolutely love. You know that. I love standard music and I love Sinatra. I got it for $4. And upstairs, what I thought was magnificent was not only the whimsical book tunnel, but they had books that you could, this is for anyone who's into, I would say house design or decorations. They had books by colors, old books. So there was red books, black books, blue books, white books, you name it. So it was just a plethora of books, and it's a really, really cool place. I will say the downfall is that it took me an hour and 20 minutes just to drive 8 miles to go to this bookstore. And it took me 25 minutes to look for parking. So I would highly suggest that if you're going to head to the Last Bookstore at 453 South Spring Street, you might as well Uber it because it'll save you a really, really big headache. For more information and if you want to see or purchase anything online, you could go to lastbookstorela.com. It is open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. And Mo, it was one of those things that, when you're on, well, I don't know if you're on TikTok, but if you're on TikTok or Instagram and you see the same feed constantly and all the time, it's like, right already. I'm going to go check it out. So I had to go check it out, but it was definitely worth it. Well, it took me longer to get there and longer to park than the amount of time I was actually in the bookstore. But the $4 Frank Sinatra book was worth it.
You got to go to lastbookstorela.com. They have a drone video where it's flying through the bookstore, so you get to see the expansive nature of the bookstore. Is going over a ledge. It's a very cool video, but it also shows you how large a bookstore it is. Obviously the ambiance of the bookstore, and it's almost like I felt like I was in an old record store. That's the only way I can describe it. Yes, you have that feeling you're in, but I feel like you're in this really kind of old museum of antiques. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There is the section when you walk in, the section to the left side, it's like this little mini ballroom, and I don't know how much these books are worth, but they are glassed and vaulted and keyed and have locks. That means a lot.
They have, what do you call those? Alarms and so forth. So I am sure they're very expensive. Also, in the actual where was the bank vault, those books there are one of a kind, very rare. They have a certain, light so that the books don't, I guess, kind of decay, or the pages kind of fall apart. So I know those are very, very expensive. But, there are people they collect these books. They're these rare books, so it is a magical place. I have to say that. And when I said the woof of the odor of old books when you first walk in, it is pretty strong. I will say that.
Can I second this?
Yes.
The Last Bookstore is one of my favorite places in LA, and it's just magnificent. And do they still have the horror section upstairs in a vault too? Yes, they do. It's a wonderful place.
Mark, I'm not really into horror movies or books or anything, I just peeked in and I was like, oh, okay, this isn't for me.
I had to be dragged out of there by the collar of my shirt.
Oh,
if you've never been there, you're going to love it. You must go to this place.
It really is. But am I not right? Like the parking area, like I would really highly suggest that you Uber it.
Yeah,
honestly.
It's a pretty short walk from the Bradbury building, isn't it? And
correct.
The Grand Central Market.
Yes.
And I think we had trouble parking as well. So leave the night before.
I did not know, Mark, you had visited here as well. It's almost like you were bearing the lead and waiting to jump in. I thought you would have jumped in sooner.
I wanted to hear what you had to say about it. It's such a magnificent place. I mean, it really is a landmark of a place.
When we come back, we'll have the hidden gem from the week. It's Friday Nights with Nautica de la Cruz. On Later with Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640, live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Oh, Later with Mo Kelly on KFI AM 640.
Live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app. Let's kick it back to Nautica de la Cruz.
Thank you so very much, Mo. Well, today's hidden gem is someone close to Tawala's heart and mine. His name is Chris Lose. Chris Lose grew up in Pasadena before moving to Monrovia during high school. His family, originally from Sri Lanka, immigrated to the U.S. to escape a long and violent civil war. Chris was raised in a tight-knit household with his parents, grandparents, and sister. They didn't have name brand clothes or fancy things, but they always had enough. And generosity was a core value in their home. Watching his family give to others, even when they had little, taught him the importance of sharing blessings and supporting the community. Chris found his passion in basketball and hip hop during high school, but his love for radio would define his career. He has spent over 30 years in broadcasting, hosting, and producing shows across Southern California. He's also been instrumental in launching and programming radio stations in Los Angeles and in the Inland Empire. In recent years, he transitioned into the tech industry, working in music at his favorite technology company while still staying connected to the media world. Returning to Monrovia as an adult, it allowed Chris to give back to the community that shaped him. He was introduced to Ralph Walker, a mentor who guided him into public access television and community activism. Through this experience, Chris realized the power of media in uplifting local voices and inspiring change. He became dedicated to using his skills to help others, particularly young people looking to break into a creative field. Seeking a lack of resources for students who wanted to pursue non-traditional careers, Chris co-founded iDreamSociety.org. iDream Society with his friends Monique and Jay. What started as just speaking engagements in classrooms grew into hands-on workshops teaching students how to launch podcasts, create content, and develop entrepreneurial skills. Their signature event, the Dream Chasers Career Day, connected students with successful professionals in creative industries. This year, they're expanding the event to include financial literacy. By the way, that's very important. Helping young artists and entrepreneurs learn how to sustain their careers. The iDream Society, or iDreamSociety.org, is committed to empowering young creatives by providing mentorship, education, and hands-on experiences. The nonprofit believes that traditional education doesn't always support students who dream of working in music, media, or entrepreneurship. Through workshops, network events, and career days, the organization helps young people build skills, make connections, and gain confidence in their talents. Chris and his team are passionate about ensuring the next generation has the tools they need to turn their dreams into reality. Tawala, who worked with Chris for a longer period, and I could also say that he is someone who is truly a good-hearted person, has a good soul, and he is someone who is deeply committed to giving back. So, Chris Los, we thank you for everything that you do. And I know, Tawala, you worked with him at the Beat, and tell us a little bit about how you got to work with him and how you found what an amazing individual he is.
Los Angeles was an intern for Julio G and myself when I was producing Julio G on 92.3 The Beat, turned 100.3 The Beat. Chris Los came on as our intern, and I don't think I had seen a hungrier intern since myself. He came in and soaked up every single ounce of everything that he could learn. He was already, fledgling radio broadcaster himself. And when he came in, he was like, okay, I've made it. This is the big time. I'm going to take it for everything it's worth. And just so happened that I moved further into programming, into an assistant music director position and doing behind the scenes stuff. And it was only natural that Chris took over as the producer of Julio G, taking Julio's show to even higher heights than I did. And to see him go from that to become a program director, assistant program director. He was an air personality for 5011 stations, to what he is doing now, paying it back, giving it to the kids, teaching the kids through his experiences how to go further and dream bigger. And once you accomplish something, don't stop there. Dream a new dream and go even further. I have watched Los Angeles conquer every single thing he has set out to do. So it just fills me with pride hearing you talk about him and sharing what he is doing, because I believe the Southland needs to know everything they can about Chris Los. Love Chris Los for life.
Well, and the other thing was he invited us, actually Tawala too, and our good friend Jennifer Werber. He invited us to this art show. And so Jennifer and I went. And as we were talking, so what he's trying to do is he's really trying to bring up Monrovia and really expand in the community. And so we went to an art show. And as we were talking, talking about the good old days, he was talking about his organization. And I said, hold up. You have a nonprofit? He goes, yes, it's called iDreamSociety.org. And I said, you do? I said, oh, I need to talk to you. And so that's how he became my hidden gem today. So he is a mutual friend of ours. But like I said, Tawala got to work with him way more than I did.
Now, I watched that kid literally grow from a sapling still on Similac to literally just ruling the radio game. And I am so proud to see that young man shine.
What does it mean then when you get to see the next generation bringing up the next generation?
It is literally paying it forward and paying it back. It is, when I talk to Chris, he has one of the most humble, down to earth people you talk to, and his only goal, his only dream is to see people come up. I see some of myself in that, and that when I was in that position, how I would strive to make sure that every intern, anyone that worked at me, I want to make sure that you were good. To see him doing these same things, it fills me with so much pride to know that there are people like him in the industry where we know people can be shady. People can be downright just
people don't have any idea
like,
how shady.
For real. Chris Lowe's, man of his word, and will greet you with a smile, greet you with a hug, and literally give his all to see you make it. We need people like that in this industry, people that are selfless about their craft, who are willing to teach you everything. And because this is something that you and I used to do when we had interns. You had to produce the show. You had to do every single thing. And we're not hiding the game. We are trying to give it to you so you can go on and make this industry that we are in better. That is something that Chris Lowe's does.
And to inspire. And that's one thing that Tuwala has always been very good about. He's always very good about opening his arms, and you too, Mo, about, let's bring him in. Let's bring this person in. Let's work. Let's collaborate. And I think that's beautiful. And I think this generation needs to learn to do that and not be so selfish. There's always someone who's going to take your job. There's always someone that's going to replace you eventually. There's always someone that's going to retire and is going to retire, and then someone's going to have to fill in those shoes, because guess what? We all get older. And so I think it's beautiful that people like Chris and people like yourself and Mo, you're doing good, and you're just really embracing and the knowledge in what we love, which is called radio.
Did you give out his foundation information?
It's idreamsociety.org. That's the letter I, dreamsociety.org.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Now on Later with Mo Kelly, Mark talks about movies and TV, pontificates about pop culture. Rahner Report with Mark Rahner.
KFI AM 640 is Later with Mo Kelly. Now it's time for the Rahner Report with Mark Rahner.
Okay, if you get nothing else out of Death of a Unicorn, buy the extra insurance when you rent a car in case you hit a mythical creature when you're on the road in the middle of nowhere with your snotty daughter on the way to do a job for a family of despicable rich people. I think I got all that right. Here's some of the trailer for Death of a Unicorn. It's a little long, but it lays out the situation pretty well, and I think I bleeped out the F-bomb. Be ready anyway, Foosh.
Ridley? Are you okay?
It kind of felt like it was showing me something. I get this feeling I don't think we're supposed to be here.
The Leopolds donated this entire nature preserve. And they care about a lot of things, not just pharmaceuticals.
Fine. I will sit there and smile.
Sorry, we're late.
What happened? You walked from the airport or what?
It's perfect timing.
I need you to act like everything is fine.
Is there something in your car?
A lot of species in this area are rare. What exactly are we saying this is, though?
I think we know exactly what it is.
A horse-like mammalia.
With some sort of protrusion or growth.
It's a f***ing unicorn.
I don't think I should be in swim shorts for this moment.
I don't think that we're supposed to have this.
We need to study it.
Whatever it is, it seems to be the cure for cancer.
Cancer? That's the biggest one.
An opportunity for greatness, for immortality. I've never been so alive.
Dad, please just listen to me. We need to give the little one back. Okay, bad things will happen. There are two of them? They're gonna kill us.
I'll do whatever I have to do to take care of you. You would retreat in the face of opportunity.
That horn was rather girthsome.
Let's just end it at girthsome. Got that? Pay for the coverage, do some donuts, avoid the magic horses with the single huge horn. Death of a Unicorn is a horror comedy that manages to be both a little offbeat and pretty formulaic at the same time. Sort of a fun concept and a fun cast. Paul Rudd's the dad, Jenna Ortega's the daughter, although honestly, he looks young enough at 55 that you're not immediately sure if they aren't a couple instead. Richard E. Grant is the dying patriarch of this family that's filthy rich from pharmaceuticals. So you know what their karma is going in. And if you've never seen him in Withnail and I from 1987, the funniest drunken buddy lout comedy of all time, for God's sakes, fix that. I know it's streaming on Max, probably other places as well. Téa Leoni's his wife. Where's she been? Will Poulter is their idiot, wastrel son. He played Adam Warlock in that last Guardians of the Galaxy movie. And the bald guy who played NoHo Hank in Barry is their manservant. Anthony Kerrigan's his name. What's the deal then? The daughter bonds mystically with the whacked unicorn. Then the pharma ghoul family realizes you can harvest all the magical stuff from unicorns to inject, to drink, to snort, possibly uses suppositories, and it does everything from clear up your complexion to clearing up your terminal cancer. And it turns out unicorns aren't cool with this. They don't stay dead, and they have extremely violent, pissed off unicorn friends, all while the father's trying to repair his relationship with his daughter. And those are your screenwriting 101 basics. I want to put this right out there. I'm all for impaling the rich on unicorn horns. It's a no-brainer, especially pharmaceutical rich. I think we'd all like to see the Sackler family get their just desserts from pretty much any mythical creature, maybe kicked by centaurs. There's an idea now. Don't you steal that. Killer centaurs. I like Paul Rudd. In fact, I think soon people who don't like Paul Rudd will be held without charges at black sites overseas. But the pacing of this movie is a bit sluggish. The writing never lives up to the novelty of the premise, especially the dialogue with the rich jerks. And there's never a second where you're not abundantly aware of the fakery of the horse monsters, whether it's a CGI one chasing someone down a hallway or a practical version of one lying down. It made me wonder, actually, if movie special effects are getting worse somehow. And when things really get going, the madcap of it all just does not glue together, sorry horses, to the point where my mind was wandering and I started thinking about having to sweep up after some of these things in a parade. It's the first feature from the director and writer Alex Sharman, who's mainly been a producer up to now. He may be heading back to producing. It's hard to make horror comedies because a lot of the times they're just not enough of either. And I got to wonder what Sam Raimi could have done with something like this. Here's your pull quote, publicist. Death of a Unicorn doesn't need to be euthanized like a horse at Santa Anita, but it's a long way from being a perfect, special, once-in-a-lifetime thing you don't dare miss. Also, I'm available for the Killer Centaur script. Mo, did you draw pictures of unicorns and rainbows on your peachy at school?
I absolutely did.
I knew it. So listen, last weekend, I watched this great old comedy from the early 80s called Used Cars with Kurt Russell, and it made me wonder, when was the last time we saw a really great recent comedy? This wasn't it. That's all I got, Mo. It's back to you.
Well, you didn't like the movie, though, right?
It wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen, but I can't really recommend it.
Okay, you were nicer in your Rahner report than you were in your off-air conversation.
Yeah, I was expecting some blood. I was like, okay, he's going for the throat.
That's why I'm kind of confused. I'm thinking like, okay, did he change his mind during a commercial break or something?
I think all I said to you was followed by a thumbs down, and this was just
that's enough. That's enough. You pooped on it, and then you gave it a thumbs down.
This was just an expansion of thumbs down.
Okay, you made it seem like it was plausible. Like you know, your mileage may vary. You may enjoy it, but it's not a code brown.
It's not a complete code brown. It's some people do like it, but I get the impression from what I've seen that people are saying that these are people who haven't been to a lot of movies. I don't know.
But Mark, we can't go with a lot of people. I don't care about you. I care about you. I don't care about the lot of people. I don't want to hear about what they say and people say. No, what does Mark say?
Well, if you were reading between the lines, Tuwala, this was a mixed to negative recommendation.
See, when we talked earlier, there was no mixed. There was just thumbs down is thumbs down. It wasn't like horizontal thumb.
Well, first of all,
90 degrees.
Let's be careful with that. The thumbs are copyrighted, and I don't want to get sued. Do you want to get sued?
Look, okay. We're not going to hold you to the thumbs down, but when you poop on it, when you give it a straight,
well, is a raspberry always a poop?
It is.
Yeah, it is.
Followed by a thumb by a thumb going down.
Yes,
that means it's going
basically
down.
Trash.
Basically. So I'm
It's
kind of confused, man.
Well, it's like 65% trash. How's that?
Trash is trash.
But it still falls on, like, the Rotten Tomatoes rule is like if it's under 50% or something like that, it's no go.
But that would be a D.
Right.
Well, we're not in school.
No, Mark. Mark.
See, am I the only one confused here?
Mark, if there's trash in the trash can right next to you, right, and it's halfway full, are you reaching your hand in there?
What kind
because
of
it's only
bizarre
halfway
feeding
full?
frenzy is this going on right now?
I need for this film to get a definitive either code brown or
What's their grade letter?
Yeah.
Well, there's more nuance than that to life. You swine.
Oh my gosh! He called us swine. That seems like an insult, like 100%
As
insult.
we're trying to get
50%.
trying to get clarity. We're swine.
If you want me to be absolutely clear about something,
You ace hola.
I thought that's very banal of you to say. I think we've beaten this dead unicorn to death, and it's time to go to the news.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640. Welcome to Mo on the Movies.
Oh, Red.
Don't be ridiculous, darling. It's Mo on the Movies.
Kiss me.
Not a chance.
KFI AM 640. It's Later with Mo Kelly. We're getting ready to play Name That Movie Called Classic. The phone lines are open. We're not playing for prizes tonight, but we are playing for fun. Give us a call at 800-520-1KFI, 800-520-1534. And this is the time I want to find out what everyone is watching, because most of the things that I do watch are from the recommendations of others. And Mark, I owe you an apology because I still haven't gotten to the Manson documentary yet, and it's on my list. I'm trying to get there.
Well, we've had plenty to watch. We've been spoiled for choice this week, including Daredevil, which is, I think, on its 5th episode.
Sixth?
Because
it's a double episode.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And I've just been loving that, and it's even better than it was on Netflix, and it was already pretty darn good on Netflix. I love the character Matt Murdock, played by Charlie Cox. He's got a real swagger and an edge to him now that wasn't so pronounced before. The action's great. The way they emphasize his enhanced senses everywhere from in the courtroom to during fights. I just love the new Daredevil.
I am loving the fact that there are so many F-bombs on Disney
no
Plus.
Less. Yes.
They just want to remind you that F-bombs are ever present. And it's Disney Plus. Yeah, I like you. I enjoyed this more than the Netflix version. But it's subtleties. It's not, it's not a leap better than the Netflix version, but it's just little things, even from the opening theme, the way that's put together.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best things Marvel has ever put out into the world. And we know from all sorts of news reports that they had to redo a lot of it. They scrapped a bunch that had already been filmed, and I'm really curious what all that was.
I happen to think it had to do with the earlier storytelling. I don't want to give it away, but there's a character that we meet who is in the same line of work as Matt Murdock, if you will. And something happens to that character, which I think changed because the actor playing that character died in real life.
Yeah, that was horribly sad. And I didn't realize that until after I had seen the episodes that he was in.
I had a feeling that there were going to be more episodes between those two. And because of the untimely death, that probably required some script changes.
However, I will say the way they dealt with the character being taken out in the show, really, it makes your jaw drop because it changes the stakes in a Marvel thing. It's a little bit heavier.
It's much heavier. It's much darker. It's much more violent. I have to remind myself that this is a quote unquote Disney show, and I appreciate Marvel not allowing Disney to Disneyfy it. There were questions about whether the costume would be closer to the Disney aspect or the concept of Daredevil, or would it be closer to the Netflix version where it was much darker, much more drab, much more bleak, and we get kind of a meeting in the middle. But this is far more violent, actual violence, blood and gore than the Netflix version.
They've done a lot of things here where you realize you're in good hands and these people get it. Whereas, we always talk about Marvel news or superhero movie news here, casting, that kind of thing. And it's like, this new Fantastic Four movie. Well, we don't know. But no, these guys get it.
I finished Reacher today and I'm spent. It was a long, long episode of a lot of violence, a lot of fighting, a lot of shooting. It was well worth it, though.
That sounds good because I think I'm only behind the one. They come out on Fridays, right?
Yeah, like Thursday night, Friday, I think, if not mistaken. It's out there now, so it's available for you, and it's a fitting season finale.
This has been a really satisfying season, and I can't wait for the next one because I like Alan Ritchson kind of getting comfortable in the role, and you can kind of, I can't quantify this at all, but you can tell in the reaction shots they do of him, the dry delivery of some of his remarks. I just keep liking that character more and more.
He's definitely made it his. It's his character moving forward. Yes, Tom Cruise did 2 movies, but Tom, no disrespect to him, there was no lasting impact. It wasn't like there was a personality that Tom Cruise developed or explored in that character where you have to unlearn that Reacher was Tom Cruise.
No, that was just a Tom Cruise movie, and so much of it in retrospect is laughable to me. Like, there's a scene where he's outside a bar getting ready to kick the crap out of like 4 or 5 guys, and he says something foreboding like, "Remember, you wanted this."
Right.
And it just seems silly to me now.
I like Alan Ritchson's just that dry delivery that you were talking about. It's very monotone, but it's very intentional. He is a one-dimensional dude in many aspects, but it's conveyed not through poor acting, but actually superior acting, that this guy, he's pretty psychotic. You're glad he's on your side, but he's a psychopath.
Yeah, and he's a good actor. It takes a lot to give a minimalist performance, and you can take for granted somebody like Steve McQueen or Eastwood. This is in that vein.
KFI AM 640, we're live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app.
Untangling the mess until it makes sense.
KFI.
And KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
Live every